Today, on the Victory Unlimited show, you'll be briefed on what to do when new girls in your life start asking a bunch of questions about all the old girls from your life. We're going to talk about the 3 factors that make all the difference between whether or not you win or lose with women, and why some women look for reasons not to date you. That's right. Today, we're going to talk about how you can use your tongue to cut you in or out of a relationship with a good woman. Let's go.
If you picked up this frequency, downloaded this MP3, or gained access to this broadcast by any means, know that you are not listening to just another ordinary radio show. You are listening to the greatest dating, relationship, and life strategy show for men in the world. Becoming the best man that you can be is a lifelong fight, so welcome to the war, soldier.
Many of you know me. I am Victory Unlimited, and this is the Victory Unlimited show. The #1 show on the planet that's produced solely for the purpose to accomplish the primary objective of helping nice guys, good guys, and gutsy guys better their lives. A lot of shows like to run off at the mouth about how nice guys always finish last with women, but this show, this is the only show that's on a mission to show them how to finish first. We got a message today from Joe. He's 32. He's from Calgary, Canada. And the title of his email is, "How do I keep girls from using my past against me?" I repeat. The title of his email is, "How do I keep girls from using my past against me?" And Joe writes, "Hey, Commander-in-Chief, this is Joe, reporting for duty. VU, I got a question I wanted to ask you. I need some intel, but I don't need information on just how to handle a relationship. I need information on how to handle what I say about past relationships to the woman I'm in a relationship with right now. Here, let me explain. I've had a history of running into the wrong girls, getting caught up in those wrong girls, and staying so long in the relationships with those wrong girls that I start doing stupid stuff to keep them around. VU, you name it. I've done it all over the past 7 years or so since I moved up here from the States. It really has been like a battle. I've had women take me for granted. I've had women cheat on me. I've begged women who had lost interest in me to stay. It's a shame, but I've done it. And it doesn't just begin and end with women. Over the past years, I've lost jobs and couldn't find work for almost a year before I got the job I'm working on now. I've had some health scares that have turned out to be false alarms after about 6 months worth of testing. All that was scary, but I've been given a clean bill of health now though. Like I said, you name it, and I've been through it for damn near a decade now. Anyway, back to the relationship side of things. I've been in 3 relationships since I've been up here. All the women that I've met have been all kind of different, but the relationships have all ended up the same way. For some reason, it seems like they always started off with me being more into them than they were into me. From listening to your show, I know now that it's important that the women I go for also show me sooner rather than later that they also have some kind of attraction for me too. And I'm just starting to get into the battle plan, so I know I got a long way to go. So I wanted to skip ahead and come and ask you about this situation right now and see if you would answer it on your show. The good news is that things are picking up on the dating front for me. And I finally met a woman who's actually into me like I'm into her. I met her about 2 months back and everything's going well. We spent a lot of time together. We seem to be connecting on a bunch of different levels. We're real comfortable together while at the same time extremely attracted to each other. I have to peel her off of me just as much as she has to peel me off of her. But here's the situation. In some of our quiet times together, she keeps asking me more about my past, especially about my past relationships. She wants me to share more with her about my past relationships. She says she's asking this because she's really into me and really wants to get to know me better. She let it slip one day that she thinks that I may be, quote unquote, the one, and she doesn't want to blow it. And she says that that's even more of a reason why she wants to get to know more about me, to get closer and closer to me. But like I said, VU, there's a lot of things in my past that are not so great. And I would like to tell her about it, but I'm kind of scared to do it. I think a lot of this girl. We've only been together for a few months, but I like where this looks like it's going. So, because of all of this, I think to myself, what if I make a false move here? What if I put myself out there like that and things end up the same way as they've been ending up with the other girls, with me being more into her than she's into me? I can tell you right now that there's really nothing that I can put my finger on. There's nothing that has happened that would make me think that things will end up that way. So my question to you is, should I be suspicious of my new girl asking me so many questions about my past? Or am I just being paranoid? Yo, Joe. Do you know how long I've been waiting to say that? But anyway, thanks for your email, Joe. And thanks for supporting the cause of helping me help guys all over the world by investing in the battle plan. Now, as far as your question is concerned, let's get right into it. You're wondering if you're just being paranoid about the fact that your girl is asking you so many questions about your past life and relationships, huh? Well, the answer is, I don't know. I don't know this girl. All I know is what you told me in this email. But you know what else is true? Not only do I not know your girl's motivations for asking you about your past, guess what? You don't know her motivations either. So, because neither you nor I have enough intel right now, it's impossible to judge whether or not you're being paranoid or not. But I will tell you this, the definition of paranoia is having an intense feeling of suspicion or fear that somebody's out to get you, even though you have no proof. But let me also tell you this, it's not paranoia when they really are out to get you. But then again, you don't really know what's up with this girl either way. Judging from what you wrote, things seem to be going great with this one, unlike the last ones. So if I had to guess, which I do, I guess that her wanting to know more about you is just what goes with the territory whenever a woman's interest in you is really high. So I'm going to have to point out to you that this is a good thing. Now let's look at the alternative. This girl could be closed-mouthed, ultra-reserved, and actually totally uninterested in you. Now, how would that make you feel? What kind of thoughts would be going through your mind if that was the case? I wonder what kind of email you'd be writing into the show then. Probably one of those emails that I have to slap a title on that goes something like, "Hey, Victory, what can I do to make this woman get into me?" You see the difference? So like I said, I think it's important here for you to realize that if you had the ability to pick a problem to be having with a woman, "Hey, Victory, What do I do when a woman is too into me is the problem that you'd rather have. Besides, you've already had more than your fair share of chicks who started treating you badly, bailing out on you, and disrespecting you, haven't you? Now, having said that, what you also need to recognize is that whenever two people meet, there's a strong tendency for us to have this souped up, idealized view of what we hope the other person is going to be. And sometimes, depending upon how immature or unrealistic a person is in their viewpoints, they could easily let this natural tendency to over-idealize just how perfect the other person is get out of control. A lot of times when we've been through enough bad times or met too many of the wrong people for us, we put so much pressure on the next person we meet to be perfect that we can wind up sabotaging the possibility of having a potentially really good thing with them. You see, most people don't stop for a moment to realize it, but we are all artists in a sense. What I mean by that is that we all instinctively paint pictures in our mind of who and what we want the person that we meet to be, whether they really are that or not. Only over a matter of time do we really know for sure how close or how far off the real person is to that fantasy image we may have of them in our mind. Which, of course, brings me all the way back to your question. Is it paranoia that's causing you to be reluctant to tell this new girl a lot of the things about you and your past relationships? Well, if I was in Vegas right now, placing a bet on it, I'd bet that the answer is no. You're not. I'd say that rather than being paranoid, what you're being is cautious. And being cautious, being careful about what you say to a woman with good potential in the very beginning of a new relationship is a good thing. It means that you're conscious. That's what it means. And what you're conscious of is your past and all the things that happened in it and all the mistakes that you want to avoid making with this new girl. What you're conscious of, soldier, is that there are things that the success or failure of the relationship with this new chick is dependent on. The success or failure of this new relationship is dependent not only on what you did or what you do right now, but also on what you say to this new girl at any given moment. That's right. Relationships are like living things. Once they begin, it doesn't take long for them to take on a life of their own. Your mission, especially if you feel like you've met a girl that could be good for you for the long term, is to do whatever you can on your end to make sure that the relationship keeps moving and keeps growing in positive ways, not negative ones. And talking too much about all the bad moves you made in the past or getting too deep into details about anything that happened to you before you met her almost always has a negative outcome. You see, everything has consequences. To get anything out of a relationship, there's always a price to pay. So what you have to do is decide whether or not that price is too high for you to pay in exchange for what you get. Here's what I mean. This girl is into you right now, right? Well, let me tell you that part of the reason why she's into you is because you're on her mind just as much as you are actually in her life. Right now, she's probably thinking about you and fantasizing about you precisely because she doesn't know everything there is to know about you yet. A lot of women will never admit this, especially to us men, but the excitement and the mystery of not knowing everything there is to know about us is a major turn-on for them. A major reason why they, quote-unquote, fall in love with us. In fact, I damn near say it's a requirement for most of them. Why does it happen this way? Simple. Remember what you just wrote me about her letting it slip to you that she's thinking that you might be the one. Well, that's exactly what's going on in her mind on a deeper level, too. She's trying to decide if you are the one or if she should keep looking for another one. You understand? Over the course of getting to know you, she's comparing you either consciously or subconsciously to the fantasy picture that she has of you in her mind. And while this process is going on, while the relationship is still in the beginning stages, it's like playing a dangerous game of sudden death. Whatever you do or say, whatever you reveal to her about what you've done or said in the past will be used both for you and against you. So the more things you do or say that builds up the image that she has of you in her mind, as opposed to pulling it down, the better. You see, although the concept of love at first sight gets most of the hype, it's just attraction at first sight that happens most of the time. And because of that, whenever you've got a potentially good woman for you interested in you, your mission is to keep putting your best foot forward as much as possible in the beginning. Because towards the beginning of relationships, during that time, right before infatuation begins to decline and right before a real emotional or spiritual type of connection is made, things can go either way. So what should you do whenever you're in this stage? What you do is recognize it for what it is. This is your very own version of a man up moment. So treat it like one. What you do is keep your wits about you during those times. Understand that before you answer any in-depth questions about yourself or about any of your past relationships, you should first ask yourself this question. Is what I'm about to say or reveal about myself going to make this woman more into me or less into me? And whatever way you answer that question will help you keep yourself in line, will help you keep you from cutting your own throat with your own tongue. And obviously, the best way for you to answer any questions that she asks you is to do it in such a way that it shows you in the best, truthful light. Now, notice what I just said here. I said best, truthful light. No one is talking about tricking women here or lying to them just to get them to like you. That's the complicated way of getting a woman to like you. That's the cowardly way of getting a woman to like you. And that's definitely the temporary way of getting a woman to like you. The worst thing you can do to most women who are trying to decide if they want something real with you is to lie to them. Now, judging by what you've been telling me, you seem like a guy that's looking for Miss Right, not Miss Right Now. So your best strategy is to keep it real, since you want something real in return. There's a difference between lying and being reserved in how much you tell a woman about yourself. There's a difference between steering the conversation in such a way to highlight all the things that are good about you as opposed to running off at the mouth without thinking about how what you say will make you look in her eyes. The best strategy is to reveal things about yourself more and more, a little bit at a time. Okay, brace yourself. It's analogy time again. Pause for a minute and focus. Let me help you put this plan into perspective. Think of yourself as a book. Think of the girl as a potential reader of the book. And think of this stage of the dating process as being in the bookstore. What's going on here is that she has, quote unquote, picked you up and she's standing in the store browsing through your pages to see what you're about. So far, so good. She's very interested in what she's read so far, and she's excited to find out what comes next. She's excited to find out more about you. But remember that she's still standing in the store. She hasn't bought you yet. Your mission is to continue to entice her, excite her, and intrigue her to the point where she reaches into her purse, puts her money on the counter, buys you, and leaves the store with you. I trust that this analogy was not lost on you. But just in case it was, let me make it even more plain. What you should be doing is focusing on revealing only things about yourself that will make her get more into you, while choosing not to reveal things about yourself that has the strong possibility of making her less into you. Okay, now think about it. How many people really want to buy a book that they already know how it ends? Or worse, how many people would even think about buying a book that they kept reading more and more parts of it that turned them off rather than turned them on? I'm going to go ahead and answer the question for you. Not very many. Oh yeah, and you may be wondering, hey, Victory, if I'm supposed to be a book to a woman, what kind of book should I be? Well, of course, if you haven't figured it out yet, you, sir, are a thriller with a strong element of mystery running all the way through you. Now, I understand that it's nearly impossible to remain a mystery to a woman forever, and you shouldn't remain a complete mystery to a woman that you plan on building something lasting with. But there's no good reason for you to be a totally closed book to her or a totally open one either. The mission here, again, is to be strategic in what you put out there about yourself. You see, dating can be a whole lot like a job interview in some ways. A nice, pleasant job interview for sure, but still a job interview, no doubt. But how do you apply what I'm saying to you in real life situations? Well, as you keep reading the battle plan, you'll see that I go in depth into this. But here's a few quick examples of how you can implement the things that I train you on. Let's say a girl you're dating asks you something like, what happened in your last relationship? You can either keep it truthful but discreet by saying, she was a nice person, but it just turned out that we were too different to stay together over the long haul. Then change the subject. Or you could tell her, she was a nice person, but we just drifted apart. There are no hard feelings between us, and I wish her the best. Then change the subject. Or you can be even more vague about what happened in your last relationship by saying, she was a nice person, but it turned out that we weren't really right for each other. Then change the subject. Notice that in all of these examples, the key to addressing this subject is to hit it and quit it and change the subject as quickly, cleanly, and subtly as possible. You got it? And always do it as calmly, confidently, and as matter-of-factly as possible. Because when most women ask you these questions, they're not just listening to what you say, they'll also be watching you to see what your reactions are. That's why you got to keep it cool. Show no signs that any girl from your past has any kind of leftover negative impact on you at all. And the best way for you to do this is by also not speaking negatively about any of the girls from your past. Because when women see you talk bad about other girls from your past, other girls you used to be with, they tend to do what I call template. They tend to put themselves in that girl's shoes and start thinking that that's exactly how you're going to badmouth them if and whenever the two of you ever break up. That's exactly how you're going to throw them under the tank. Yeah, and something else. That same strategy for answering those particular kinds of tricky questions that women throw at you can be used with some other kinds of questions too that they may ask you. The only difference is that you should probably add more of a sense of humor to your answers when you answer them. For example, she may ask you questions like, how many girlfriends you've had? Well, if she asks you a question like that, you can tell her something like, you lost count somewhere up around the 999,000 mark. Or you can simply tell her that you're not the kind of guy that counts the women that he meets. If she asks you something like, what kind of women do you usually go for? Just tell her something like, I usually go for women like you. Or you can tell her, I don't really focus so much on the type. I just like women who be themselves, and if we're compatible enough, what's meant to happen will happen. Or if she asks you anything about some woman from your past or why any relationship you had with someone else ended, you can always pull out the ultimate weapon of mass destruction that annihilates all questions. And that weapon is a double-barreled, two-word answer that you can use for most questions. And that answer is, who knows? Yeah, you heard me. The ultimate answer is, who knows? You heard me right. I said, one of the best answers you can ever give to a woman for a bunch of questions that they may ask that you're not ready to answer totally is who knows. Now, you may be thinking, what's so powerful about saying who knows to most women as a response to their questions? Well, to be point blank honest, there are a lot of women who mistakenly believe that men don't have a clue about relationships anyway. So, who knows is a completely acceptable answer to most of them. Now, if this sounds a little too cynical or a little too manipulative to you, then remember what your objective is here. Your objective is to keep a brand new relationship going in the right direction. Your objective is to build something new with someone new, not give that person an unwarranted excuse to end it because they're dwelling too much and unnecessarily on something in your past, something that doesn't matter to the present relationship that you're trying to build with them. Now, pay attention to what I'm saying here. I said that you shouldn't let unnecessary things about past relationships sabotage your new relationship. Now, if you have things in your past that could be a real danger to her, or if you have a big revelation about yourself that she has a right to know for her own protection, then you should tell her about those things. All I'm talking about here is that you shouldn't foolishly bring up things from your past that have the strong possibility of wrecking your future. So don't miss my point on purpose here. What I'm advocating here is not lying, but discretion. What I'm saying here is to be wise about the things that you tell about yourself to women who are just beginning to get to know you. Why? Because they'll judge you much harder at the beginning of getting to know you than they will once they actually do get to know you. Let the woman get into you first before you start to reveal anything, even halfway unflattering about yourself for as long as you can. Women usually are much more forgiving of your shortcomings, your failures, and even some of your nagging character flaws at that point. Now, do you get it? Now, do you know why personal revelations are like weapons that you can use to defend both yourself and the health of a new, potentially good relationship? You see, in the war to win a good relationship with a woman, it's always fought on three fronts: what you say, what you do, and what you know. How successful you'll be at what you say and what you do will always depend on what you know. That's why, if you want to win with women, what you say and what you do have to be wisely rolled out, put into action, deployed like a weapon. So, yo, Joe, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. And if you only knew how long I've been looking for an excuse to say that since I started this show.
The Victory Unlimited show is brought to you by the Victory Unlimited Battle Plan, saving men from themselves, one man at a time. Come and join us at victoryunlimitedshow.com and find out how you can get the classified intel on how to win the war to attract, engage, and execute better relationships with women by becoming a better man.